Hi, it's Lipstick Gal. Thank you so much for watching today. I wanted to do a video that I saw Jessica Braun do. She's one of my favorite beauty YouTubers, and I know she's starting to transition more into lifestyle stuff, and I appreciate that as well, but I really still do love her beauty videos. And when I saw this, when I started it, it's like, wait, pause, make your own list and see how much of it lines up with what she says or how different it is. If you're curious about seeing Jessica's video, I will link it for you down below. But these are the 10 things that I don't buy anymore. And I think that the idea was really intriguing to me. So the first thing I don't buy anymore is liquid lipsticks. And this is one of those things because I finally know what type of lip person I am. Now, I do have liquid lipsticks that come in subscription boxes, but it's not what I normally run out and buy. And a long time ago, I would say like a decade ago, when liquid lipsticks hit and were really big, it's like everybody was wearing. And then ColourPop came out with their ultra matte lip and everybody was just like gaga for them. And I tried them and I really wanted to love them. But I don't like my lips feeling dry, flaky, irritated. Every time I put a liquid lipstick on, it sucks all the life out of it and my lips look smaller and drier. And I want juicier, plumper looking lips. So the liquid lipstick for me, and these I'm talking like the long wear, like non-transfer lipsticks, those are the ones that really tend to make my mouth look its least appealing. Sometimes the formula will dry and the color will flake off. Sometimes it makes my skin so dry that my own skin gets to get dry and flaky while I'm wearing the lipstick. None of those things are appealing. And then my lips look ultra lined. I already have some fairly lined lips, like you can see a lot of lines in them, but liquid lipstick just makes that like times 1,000. So I don't buy liquid lipsticks anymore. The second thing I don't buy anymore, and I've kind of been tapering off purchasing it, is nail polish. I remember when everybody had like a nail rack and they had all of their like 300 shades, you know, where you could see it in their beauty area. And I always wanted to have a nail rack and I never got around to it, but I did at one point have a whole set, like 5 set of Alex drawers, all 5 drawers full front to back of nail polish. I had more than 500 shades. I started getting into nail polish, I would say about 10 years ago. And at that point I was working, I had 2 small children, and I didn't have a lot of time for myself. So the one thing that I would do for myself to make me feel beautiful and attractive, even if I didn't get any makeup on, was to have my nails done. And I would change polish like 3 times a week, you know, like wear it for 2 days, take it off, change it. You know, I would spend an hour every other evening doing my nails because it made me happy and it was kind of my time for me. It was like my self-care. In September of 2019, I got my harp fixed. I'm a harpist. Well, I played the harp. I wouldn't say I'm a harpist. I used to be a really great harpist and played with orchestras and played for weddings and parties. And my harp got put in a room in our house where I didn't touch it. And this is when I got pregnant with my first daughter 13 years ago and then started having really bad headaches. All I had time for was working and taking care of my kids. And probably painting my nails. But when I got my harp fixed last summer, I said, you know, if I'm going to play it, I can't have long nails and I can't abide chipped polish. And I find that when I play with nail polish on, it chips really quickly. So I haven't been painting my nails. And with all the nail polish that I have, I don't have 500 shades anymore. I probably have like maybe 150, 200 shades. You'd think I'd be doing my toenails all the time. I'm just lazy. The last time I bought a bottle of nail polish, there was still kale polish, and kale polish has been no more since last year, like spring last year. So it's been a while. If we're talking about things that I don't spend money on anymore, but I used to believe fully that salon hair products were the best out there. And I would spend a lot of money on Bumble and Bumble products, on Pureology products, on like kind of expensive hair products, and I don't anymore. Here's why. A year and a half ago, I decided to start treating my hair better, and I have naturally curly hair, and I did some research and I found out that the products that I had been using had sulfates and silicones, and sulfates will overstrip your hair. I have naturally dry hair and a dry scalp. My hair texture is that you dry it out too much and it starts to feel like paper or straw. And silicones will seal the hair shaft not allowing any moisture to leave, but also not allowing any moisture in, which led to more of that feeling of dryness. So I couldn't find any salon products that didn't have sulfates or silicones like in a set. So if I was using like the curl line from Redken or Pureology or whatever, there would be maybe a sulfate-free shampoo, but there'd be silicones in the conditioner. And I was like, well, I'm not gonna do that. And then I started really kind of digging into the curly girl hair world. And I discovered that there were so many really beautiful products at the drugstore that have worked so well for my hair. So I'm not spending $60 in a bottle of shampoo anymore. The salon that I go to now sells Kevin Murphy, and that's a really high-end Australian salon brand, but I don't buy any of it. They're always trying to sell it to me, and I just don't do it. So I get all of my stuff at the drugstore, and I always go for things that are sulfate, silicone, and paraben free. And then if they're like mineral oil free and phthalate free, well, good too, but those are like the three things that I usually look for, and my hair has never been happier. Another thing I don't do anymore is buy skincare backups. I used to have like a favorite, and I would buy like 5 of them. They're on sale. Okay, let me get 5 of those. And the only thing that ever works for me is sunscreen. And so I do have 2 backups because this is not an expensive sunscreen. This is like $20. And if I buy just 1 bottle, I have to pay for shipping. But if I buy 2 at a time, shipping is included. So I buy them 2 at a time. This one's almost out. It's been standing on its head because it's like this much left, and I knew like I'm almost out of sunscreen, so I do buy 2. But this is the same sunscreen I've been using for the last year and a half, and I haven't changed. I don't buy, you know, backups of other skincare. I used to have like just drawers and boxes full of face washes and essences and toners, and I just don't do that anymore because I found that I wasn't using them, and it really was a waste of money, even though I was trying to save myself money by getting something on sale. I am fickle enough that I'll fall in love with something else and I won't use up what I have. Another thing I don't purchase anymore is fragrance. And it's not that I don't love fragrance, because I do, but I'm fairly particular when it comes to scents that I enjoy. I used to be one of those people that had a signature scent, and for like almost a decade, all I wore was Lancome's Poème. And then before that, all I wore was YSL's Paris. Like I can tell you like at what age in my life what fragrance I was wearing. When I was really young, when I first started wearing fragrance, it was Calvin Klein's Eternity. I wore that probably for like a good 5-7 years, and I would go through bottles and bottles and bottles of it, and I only had one fragrance, and that's what I wore. And then when I got into my 30s, I quit doing the signature scent, and I started wearing things based on my mood. Oh, that smells good. So I'd get a small bottle or a roller ball or the smallest one there was. But now I have so many of those, I'm just not finishing them. So I told myself no more buying fragrance until you're out or it goes bad. And I don't want to be the person who has like, you know, 40 perfumes that I know I'm never going to finish because they're expensive. Recently, I have discovered this about myself, probably in the last 6 to 8 months, that I prefer a smaller eyeshadow palette. So one thing that I don't buy anymore is the really large eyeshadow palettes. Now, there have been a couple, I'm going to tell you, I did buy a couple, but it's been a long time. It was Holiday, and there was this palette, oops, the Metropolis palette from Natasha Denona, and I think there's 28 shades in here. Too many. And I did also pick up the ColourPop, what was it? The Bare Necessities. So these are the last 2 large palettes that I purchased. This one has 30 shades in it. And the truth is, there are some in here that I've worn maybe once and other ones that I do use more often. But I find that larger shadow palettes like this tend to give me a feeling of being overwhelmed. And I have a hard time kind of narrowing in on, you know, like, let's use these 4 or let's use these 4. And it would be easier if they were grouped like maybe no more than 9 to 12 in a palette. So these size palettes, I haven't bought them since the holidays. It's been a good 6 months. I do much better when I have a quad like this. This is a quad of 4 shades from Makeup Geek. This one's easy for me to use. These little guys here from e.l.f., these little, what are they called? Bite-sized eyeshadows, 4 shades. You know they all go together. I feel really comfortable with 4. Once we start getting more than like 9 to 12, I am a little bit overwhelmed. This one here is the Tickled Peach from Too Faced, but it fits in the palm of my hand. And I can get several looks out of this. Something like this is easier for me to handle. Once you start getting more than that, I do feel a little bit overwhelmed, and I don't reach for my large palettes as often. Another thing that I stopped buying is large face palettes. And I'm thinking large as in size. Like this is one of those, a glow kit from Anastasia Beverly Hills, and it has 4 shades in here, and these two are too deep for my skin tone. I don't really use like a purpley highlight. This is the only one that I wear, and I don't even like it that much. It's a little too metallic-y gold. I picked this one up first. This is the Sun Dipped, and if you look at these, too dark. Too dark. There's only one in here, Moonstone, that I use, and the rest of them, they're definitely too dark for my skin tone. So I told myself, if there's going to be a palette like this, a blush palette, a bronzer palette, that you're not going to get use out of the majority of it, why are you buying it? So the next thing I don't buy anymore is high coverage matte foundations and high coverage matte powders. I do love matte bronzers, matte blushes, but sometimes I like the more satin ones that have a little bit more glow to them. But if my face looks too flat and matte, do you remember when everybody was like loving the really matte foundation look, and they wanted to look like a little powdery doll? I remember that. I remember when Kat Von D's line first launched more than a decade ago, and it was all like really matte foundation, really matte powder. You know, that was a look, and that was of the time, but I can't handle that anymore. My skin definitely needs to look glowy. It needs to look luminous. And those heavy products, high coverage heavy products and high coverage powders, just age my skin so desperately now. So I try really hard to, if I'm wearing a matte powder, to wear it very lightly. One thing I realize is I should not be buying eyeshadow singles. I have a ton of eyeshadow singles from ColourPop, from Makeup Geek. I do have, and I do use the singles from Sydney Grace, but Sydney Grace is like my favorite brand of eyeshadow. So these guys get used a lot, but if it's not in this palette, I really don't use it. I was trying really hard to get back into using my singles again. So I found these little palettes, these little quads where I could go through my collection. Okay, these 4 go together. And these 4 go together. Because if I have them all just in a giant palette this size, and they're all just in there, it's too much for me. Again, I feel overwhelmed. So I basically told myself I shouldn't buy any more singles. I prefer to have a color story pre-selected for me that's already put in a palette. So I do better with a palette, and I do better with a small palette. So I should really stop the shadow singles. I do know, and I'm saying this now and I'm shaking my head at myself, Sydney Grace is having their Christmas in July sale. It starts on July 12th. And I'm already making a list of things I'm interested in and I really want to try. I love Sydney Grace shadows. They're probably the shadows that I feel like are the highest quality at the best price point in my collection. There's a lot of great shadows out there, but I feel like they deliver on a much higher level. I would say no more buying shadow singles from ColourPop and Makeup Geek and things like that, but yes to buying more Sydney Grace. The last thing I don't purchase anymore is limited edition makeup. I always loved limited edition makeup, but I learned a couple of things. First of all, I think that as somebody who has a beauty channel here on YouTube and I like to make recommendations to you, I don't want to recommend something that you're only going to be able to find for a short window of time and then it's gone. I also don't want to fall in love with something that I use on the regular that I can't get anymore. That's like, oh, it's a huge pet peeve, which is when I hate when companies discontinue. Like the little evil makeup monster in me goes, how could you do this to me? But another thing about limited edition makeup that I've learned is that depending on the brand, the formulation is not always the same. So think about Too Faced, their holiday sets, like their Christmas sets, Tarte. I feel like the formulation is not always the same in those little sets that come with, like, you know, 3 blushes and 20 eyeshadows and all of this. They're trying to give you a sampling. And I think that if you are new to makeup, like maybe a young person who's just dipping their toe in, or you're trying to introduce yourself to it, and you've never worn makeup before, I think those sets can be nice because you get a mascara and you get a lip product and you get a, you know, sometimes a liner and shadow and blush and bronzer and highlight. But I don't always feel that they perform the same that the full-size non-limited edition products do. They're being sold at such a discounted rate that the formulation's not the same. So for me, limited edition products sometimes bring that question mark, is the quality the same? And then the frustration of if it's really good and you love it, and then you can't get it anymore. So there you go. Those are things that I don't buy anymore. And some of these are really surprising to me. And some of them just make a lot of sense. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if your beauty habits have changed, if your purchasing habits have changed when it comes to beauty. What are the things that you don't do anymore or that you've changed your mind on? You're like, wow, that's a great idea. I'd love to know in the comments down below. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being subscribed. Have an amazing day. And I'll see you again soon. Bye.